eventually I'll have to retire. So this can't keep on chugging on forever. So in 5 to 7 years, if I can hand this over to someone and exit out, and that pays for my retirement, it's a good place to be. And everywhere I hear, even in the US, they said that money on the lower side of the spectrum is kind of
It's just hard.
It's just hard. Nobody's betting on it. There was one gentleman who was advising me, and he said, "Well, look, $100,000 I'll tip in, but beyond that," I said, "No, we're talking about $4 or $5 million." He says, "Yeah, that's the spectrum which is hard in, even though you've got revenue to show, that this is not an idea anymore." But that money suddenly has kind of the whole world knew that Oracle had made a lot of people redundant. So any competitor of theirs you go to ask looking for a job would offer you a job with very low salary.
Running a business can feel lonely, especially when the decisions get heavy. Welcome to CEO Whisperer by Saurabh Jain. Practical insights from the boardroom and the meditation cushion. I'm Saurabh. I've done 10,000 hours in 3 major parts of my life. I've spent 10,000 hours being a CEO, 10,000 hours being a board member, and 10,000 hours meditating. What we're going to do in each episode is really unpack a real business challenge that a CEO is facing and see if we can work through it together. Enjoy. Hi, g'day guys. Welcome to CEO Whisperer. Saurabh here. Today I've got Kamalesh from med-ed.ai. Kamalesh, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself?
Yep, sure. I started a medical education business in 2005 with a friend who was in those days running medical education, was creating education programs that used to run on interactive DVD-ROMs. So we took that to the world of internet in 2008, and we launched a platform that gave doctors free access to very good learning content for their continuing medical education points. As a business, I think we've been reasonably successful. I say that because we were never in debt. Everything that we funded was internal accruals. And so we kind of grew steadily over years. Around 2018, we started experimenting with the use of generative AI. Those experiments led us to something concrete. And in 2024, we hived off the AI business into a separate entity. And that's the AI startup that kind of tries to solve a problem which is unique to the medical world. Every 73 days, medical education doubles itself up. And in the process, it's very hard for physicians to keep up with it. So our AI tries to solve the problem of making that education available just in time and in context where doctors can cope with this massive leap of information.
Yep. Perfect. Sounds good. So the way we run this podcast is we talk through a problem that you're trying to solve. Like what's top of mind? What's causing you some grief right now?
So I'd rather call it a challenge than a grief. So we've got commercial validation of our AI-powered education programs in terms of customers who have signed serious amounts of money as checks. So the commercial validation in terms of usage, in terms of people willing to pay, so on and so forth, has been done. And then now the challenge we have now is how do we rapidly grow this into 10x revenue and probably grow out, or not probably, we will definitely need to grow out of the Australian New Zealand market and make it global.
Okay. So if I was to write that down, would it be, how do I go from being a dev company to being a growth company? Right, perfect. Well, tell us a bit more about the use case. Like what do people use these tools for?
So the underlying... let me call it the underlying backbone of this whole thing is the ability to read a question in physician speak, translate it into a focused research-based question, interrogate a knowledge base that is validated, and come back with a summarized, synthesized answer. Now, the use cases are different for this backbone. One use case is a way of learning called a clinical audit, where a doctor reviews their own practice, looks up medical literature and say, has anything new happened in it? And can I change, or do I need to change my practice to treat patients better? So that's a clinical audit. The second is that doctors are very time poor today. In the good old days, they would do ward rounds with senior.
And when you say doctors, are they specialists or GPs?
Everybody. Everybody is time poor. So they would learn by discussing amongst themselves. Today, they don't get that. They don't get the contrary of what they think about it. Is somebody else opposing it, a senior or a key opinion leader having an opinion on it. So we've created a roundtable, which basically allows the doctor to spar with three other colleagues. One's a colleague who will always think differently from you. The other is a specialist who knows more than you. And the third is just a readout from the evidence. So you can spar with three agents and learn from the process. It's a roundtable. That's a way of learning. And the fourth is what we call the Congress Compendium. So every 6 months, there is either a big congress on the disease in either Europe or in the US. And they release the latest and the greatest treatment options and clinical trials for the disease. What we do is we build a compendium based on that release data, and we get it into Q&A format where doctors can interrogate the compendium. The longevity of this content is only 6 months.
Okay.
Because something new comes after that.
So, I mean, if you talk through the first use case, where you can have the kind of the sparring with AI, like who's the typical customer? How do they pay for it? How is this funded? How do you commercialize it?
So there are two different ways to commercialize it. We've chosen the B2B2C model. The life sciences industry sponsors education because there is a need for them to educate doctors. And so we've gone down the path where we get a sponsorship from pharmaceutical companies or life sciences companies, and we distribute the programs for free to doctors.
So what would be an example? That would be an example of a company that is it that they pay to get their content onto your platform that you educate doctors with, or they just kind of help fund some of the cost that goes to and the product goes to the doctors?
So they fund everything from the content built to distribution, and it goes out to doctors.
And if they say, no, we don't want to fund it, does their content not get put into the knowledge base for doctors?
So the knowledge base already has the content because it has everybody's content. It is just that the context in which the knowledge gets searched for the program is what gets tuned when a module is created. So for example, let me take an example. If we talk about sleep apnea, almost every GP in town, if they discover a patient is a potential sleep apnea patient, will send them to a sleep clinic and we'll start them on a CPAP machine. And then, they said, all right, you're on it. You'll be able to breathe better. Life will be better. If you look at whether there is an obese patient who's got sleep apnea and the sleep apnea is not created by anything except the obesity, then you can treat the cause of it. You treat the cause of the sleep apnea goes away. Now that's a brand new paradigm that the doctor has to deal with now. Is talk about obesity. So we've run a program, a clinical audit that says identify patients with sleep apnea and find out their BMI score, and then find out what you do with them. So that's step one. Step two is that then go and review literature, which talks about obesity and sleep apnea guidelines of Australia. And it does show the correlation. There is evidence. So the doctor suddenly finds, oh, this is a new thing to do.
Okay, so it helps them learn that kind of new use case. But what I'm trying to understand is, like, what does the pharma company actually pay for? What if they said, look, Kamalesh, we're not going to pay med-ed.ai anything for this service? What less content do they get to give to their doctors if their research is already in your model?
If the research is all in our model, then it's a question of, is it being distributed in the right manner?
What do you mean by distributed? What does that mean?
So the accrediting bodies do not allow pharma to distribute their own content because it becomes marketing. So they have providers like us who are independent, who when they look at the content and look at everything in it, will take the bias out of it. So I'm not going to go and tell the GP that, look, the CPAP machine is not the solution. You need to get the guy to lose weight and please give him drug A. You'll say that there are various ways by which they can lose weight. You got to get them the journey of getting them to lose the weight. But the fact that a weight loss drug company is able to put that message out, their market share automatically grows.
And so what are they paying for?
They're paying for the reach to the doctor plus the content.
And if they choose not to pay, do they get the reach to the doctor anyway?
No.
Okay. So then they'll get... So will they give you like more content to put in your model? Is that what they pay for? Or?
No. So they do say that these are the evidence that supports our cause. We look at the evidence in totality and then we create a program around it.
Got it. So then if they didn't pay you any fees for this, then their unique data set would not come to you to get vetted to get put into the model. It'll still be generic data then.
It'll still be generic data. It'll not put the context to it.
Okay, got it. Okay, fair
so
enough.
Unless the doctor starts the context, which is
always harder. And tell me about the reach of your platform. Like how many GPs, how many specialists
So we reach to about 40,000 general practitioners and about close to 15,000 specialists and nurses.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a pretty good size.
And how many pharma companies do you have kind of paying to get their content into these models?
The top 20% of pharma companies who get 80% of PBS revenue, they're all our customers.
Okay, got it. Okay, brilliant. That kind of makes sense. Well, I mean, it's a brilliant model, right? Because you've only because it sounds like your core asset base is actually these 40,000 doctors and these 15,000 specialists and nurses. And what you're allowing them to do is to reach them in hopefully an easier way, right? And to educate them, and they can learn a bit about their treatments and their drugs. So when knowledge changes, they can kind of be up to date. And why do doctors use this, or how do doctors use this?
So there's a stick and a carrot. The stick is that every year they have to get CME points. Otherwise, their license goes away. The Medicare rebates go away. So that's the stick. So we offer all the education programs that go through us has what's called CPD hours attached to it.
Okay. So that's the continuous professional development. So then they all get enough points so they can kind of keep their license and keep getting accredited. Correct. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And how does a doctor sign up for this platform? Is it because they're not paying for it? Someone else, the pharma companies are paying for it.
Yeah,
how do they get access?
So they just sign up to it. They get validated with the APRA register. If they're a valid practicing doctor, they'll let in.
Yep.
All we have is an email address of theirs, and then their practice postcode and name.
And how practically different is this to them just typing something into ChatGPT or one of those kind of models? Like how different is the results?
Probably similar, because the likes of ChatGPT has caught up with what we had as a unique data set, because it's all open source. It's probably similar. Only thing is that for a doctor to go and get CPD points,
they can't get it from that.
The structure of learning.
Yeah.
They can say that I've done a review of this, that, but they have to go through those steps of doing it, which we've kind of automated for them.
Got it. So if they do it through your platform, CPD points just automatically happen. Otherwise, we've got to do all this extra work to create this framework and say, this is what I learned through another model. Okay, brilliant. That kind of makes sense. Tell us the backstory. How did you get 40,000 GPs, or tell 55,000 users, right? How did you get 55,000 users on your platform?
We crowdsourced it with pharma companies.
Yeah.
The pharma reps go and see doctors, talk about the education program that they have sponsored, sign them up. So just imagine if you had 10 pharma companies, each having 100 reps, each rep seeing 5 doctors, that's 50,000.
Okay. So they've got these people, they've got doctors onto your platform. And how long did it take for you to get to the number you have now?
The first year we started in 2008, which is the non-AI business that I started. Got 6,000 registrations in the first year with 3 sponsors. And then at one point of time, we had 12 sponsors the same year. That kind of catapulted everything up.
Okay. And how many doctors aren't on your platform? Like how many other GPs are there if you've got 40,000?
Look, there is the vocational medical officers, which is about the same size as the GP population of this world, which is an untapped area. They do prescribe. They do see patients. That's probably another 40,000 out there.
In terms of the GPs?
GPs, there are, of the 40,000 that we have, I think there's about 8,000 of them who are retired.
Oh, okay.
So we are missing about 8,000 of them.
So there's about 8,000. So you've got like 80% of the market kind of thing. Okay, that's a fantastic stat to get to. How did you come up with this? Like, what is your skill set? Are you more of a developer, more of a commercialization person? Like, what's your thing?
So I'm a mixed breed. In my previous life, I used to sell software. I was a pre-sales consultant, so I used to do demos, and I was
Tell me a bit more about your previous life. What did you do before 2005?
I was at Oracle. They had an e-learning platform, so I was a business development manager.
So you were into learning, and e-learning platforms,
So I was a business development manager for them, and then the platform got integrated with the HR management system. So I kind of got to the consulting side of the business. Sales consulting side of the business as a principal consultant.
So what does that mean, sales consulting?
So
sales to implement the software or to help people buy?
No. So they help the buying process.
Okay. So you're more like the technical pre-sales person that will
Correct.
understand the product, understand the client.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And the account director would normally smooch the deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then how did you make a decision to move from that to doing your own thing?
I didn't. My position at Oracle was made redundant.
Every 3 years, those large companies have redundancies.
So my position at Oracle was made redundant. They said, here's the money, or there's another job we can look within Oracle. The money looked good. I said, I'll never see so much money in my life. So I took a plunge.
Yeah.
And then...
in terms of cost, like how many years income did they give you as part of the redundancy back then?
I was there only for 3 years. So they gave me about a good 8 months.
Okay, fantastic. So you took the money and ran?
I took the money. No, the other advantage is it was taxed at 15%, not 40.
Of course, right? It was redundancy, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's actually almost worth like a year's worth of income, really.
Yeah.
Why did you go do your own thing? Why not just go find another sales job or a pre-sales job?
So I did when so I had actually this friend of mine who I got introduced to my boss at Oracle. I looked at his business. He was already running this business, and he was doing content on DVD-ROMs. So I said, "People can put this on the internet." He says, "Where's the money?" So I kind of drew a learning marketplace model.
But it's very different to be someone that works at a large corporate with 100,000 people around you
to support everything.
Yeah. It's very hard for that kind of person to want to go do something with one other person. How did you make that decision?
So I always wanted to do something on my own, but I said it'll be after I'm 40. This happened when I was 37.
And why did you say that? Why did you say after 40 before? Was it just life expenses?
Yeah, life expenses. I would have learned enough to do something on my own. But at 37, when I was made redundant and I had the cushion and I had the opportunity to do it, I did it.
Okay.
So actually the take was
how did you explain that to your wife? Because that's often one of the major decision makers in these kind of things.
Yeah, so my wife, well, we just had a baby. She was born in 2004.
Okay, so you just had a baby.
You got
all these expenses.
Got made redundant.
You've got no more income coming through.
No more income
and you're telling your wife you want to go not get another steady job. You want to do this super high risk startup with another person.
Correct. So what I did tell her was that, look, I have a certification that allows me to teach a particular tech stack. So 15 days of the month I'll teach that. That'll be more than enough from.
So you'll hedge it both ways.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Which I did for a few months, not forever. But we started in March 2005. By May 2005, we had our first real customer. So it wasn't a long wait.
How did you? I mean, it sounds like you were very easy. It was easy for you to reconcile that risk in your mind. What made it easy?
So the reconciliation I had in my mind was that I'll give it a shot for 6 months. If it doesn't work, I'll find a job.
Because often when people get made redundant, they think the opposite. They're like, oh my God, I'm never going to get another job again. I'm unemployed. I've just had this baby. I've got this mortgage. I've got to panic, even though I've got this cushion of money, but I've got to panic and go get another full-time job straight away. How come that didn't happen to you?
It's not that it didn't happen to me. It did happen to me. I was job hunting. Yeah. But what had happened at that point of time, that the whole world knew that Oracle had made a lot of people redundant. So any competitor of theirs you go to ask looking for a job would offer you a job with very low salary.
That's right, because there's suddenly this huge supply of ex-Oracle employees, right?
Correct. So when I would look, well, why it's still a risk joining someone.
They can make you redundant? Yeah. I mean, a full-time job is no more safer than a startup.
No, and you don't realize that till you get hit for the first time. And then you know that it can happen with a piece of paper.
If you didn't get made redundant, would you ever have the insight to do this yourself? Would you ever wait another 3 years, hit 40 and then quit and done something yourself?
I would have probably.
Okay.
Waited for 3 years to do something. And but then we would have lost time. Because when we started touting over this idea in 2005, we still had to do piecemeal projects to keep the business alive. But the platform happened in 2008.
Okay. And what part did you play and what part did the original owner play in this kind of
So the original owner actually had inroads into pharma company. So he had the contacts. He had the master services agreement.
And is he still in the business today?
No. So he retired in 2015. I bought him out.
Okay. Fair enough. So he had the ability to sell the product to the right people. And you had the e-learning understanding as to what needs to be built.
Correct.
And that was like the partnership that kind of came together.
Absolutely.
Okay. When he left in 2015, like how big was the company? How many other people were in there then?
So we restructured in 2012 to make it lean. So we were already preparing for his departure. He had this thing saying, I need to go away in 3 years' time, find another investor, take this on. We didn't find any suitable investors. So that's how I ended up.
So you self-funded the purchase, was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that makes sense. Okay. And do you have another partner today? Or?
So we have, with the AI business, we have co-founders. So there's a medical director, Dr. Paul Bennett, who's been our medical director and a good friend since 2017.
What does the medical director do in a company like this?
So he's the one who has the gates to the medical content. Because I'm not a doctor.
So he understands what needs to be in these models and whether it's good or not, whether it says the right stuff, says the wrong thing.
Correct.
And does he work full-time with yourself? Is he still another?
No. He doesn't work full-time with us.
And he's still a doctor doing his own practice, but does this as part of his... He's a
doctor doing his own practice. He works in clinical trials. So he's kept himself that.
Okay.
We've recently got on board a medical director for oncology and hematology because that's a very special need. Then we have one.
And so these medical directors, do you tend to then give them script in the company, or you just pay them like a monthly retainer to help you? How does the model work?
No, so they get a percentage of the profits from the projects.
Yeah.
Okay. And then when there is when the projects happen, there is work to be done. They get paid.
Got it. And so over time, you might get medical directors for every speciality or every segment that you need some unique understanding, I'm guessing?
Correct. Where there's a unique need for understanding. Yeah. We also have commercial co-founders, people who have invested in it and can help us open doors.
Yeah.
There's one gentleman in Europe and one in the US.
Why did you take investment into this company? Because I wouldn't have thought it needs a lot of investment because you already got all the content, a lot of the AI stuff kind of already exists. Well, why take external investment?
So the initial investments that we took when we started, OpenAI, which was the only game in town, did not have suitable large language models for medical science. So we actually started building small language models.
Okay.
You pop a small language model to do the right thing. It takes you over $35,000 of development.
Yeah.
So if you look at 10 disease states, that's $350,000.
And I assume that's all gone now that you're using the large frontier models now, is it?
Yes. So what we ended up doing is with those small tier models, we created an algorithm to understand the question.
Okay.
Which none of the LLMs still do. So when you use ChatGPT, it understands your language of the question and interprets it front to back and back to front, but it doesn't understand where you're coming from. So it doesn't understand the intent of the question. That when you say, how's the weather? You're just being polite or you really wanted to know what the weather was?
Sure.
Yeah. So that's what we have kind of got as a secret juice that powers the engine.
Okay. Fair enough. But your engine is it's now one of the public models, is it? That you've just hyper-tuned with your data set? So do you have your own LLM that you built?
No, we haven't built our own LLM. So we're using and it doesn't matter which LLM we use. The LLMs become the disposable part of the day.
That's a utility these days anyway. Okay, fair enough. And so where have you gotten to today with this kind of chatbot education product?
So the chatbot gets embedded into the education product and it gets into the workflow of education.
So it gets embedded into like the web version of the 2005 product, but this is like a new module that gets added in?
Yes.
Okay.
So let's say you watched a video. It's a recorded webinar. You really wanted to ask a question or spar with somebody on what you've watched. So you add the roundtable to it. So the roundtable basically is a set of 3 agents that you can spar with. So you watch the video, have a question, and saying, I'm going to do this, like what do you think? Yeah. So the 3 agents respond back. One's your peer who has a contrary view to what you have. One's a specialist or a key opinion leader. And one's just the evidence.
Mm. So one of the things with these AI tools is, they do fantastic stuff, but they're not super difficult to build. It's not like, back in 2005, if you had to build like an app and put onto a CD-ROM, right? You would have probably needed a lot of developers and it would have been quite a complex thing to do. Now they're all no code, just a couple of people, you prompt something into existence. What's the barrier to like an EMR system having just a competitor product to yours?
So the EMR systems will never do education.
Oh, they don't do education, do they? They only do the patient management.
Correct.
Why do they not do education? Is that just not their space?
It's not their space. So they've got enough on the plate managing patient records. So our literature review tool, that backbone they probably have it, but it's used in the context of the patient consult at that point of time, not as a learning interface.
Oh, that's because it's at the point of patient interaction. It's not at, in May when they've got to get their CPD points. It's not then when they use that tool.
No. So we're kind of on the non-sexy end of town with AI.
Okay. Kind of makes sense. So the original question was, around the commercial validation, right? How do I get from a dev company to a growth company? So you said you've got commercial validation now. Explain to me, what does that mean in your world?
So this is how I look at commercial validation. So we've got this thing that we've built. We've gone to a pharma company and saying, why don't you do a pilot? And let's do it with just 300 doctors and you pay us some money. Well, it's a paid pilot. I don't like giving things away for free. So they paid us and we ran a 3-month program. At the end of it, they see the results of it. And then we're discussing, do you think this has better value for you? A commercial validation happens when they write the second check, not the pilot. So they said, yeah, this is great. Now
just help me out. So what would that first pilot have given them? Like a chatbot hyper-tuned with their data, the doctors can ask questions?
The first part we did was run a clinical audit. So clinical audit is a learning process by which a doctor reviews their own practice. Embedded into the clinical audit is a chatbot for literature review. But what it does do is put a structure in place saying that this is how I currently treat my patient. Let me see what is the new evidence and what changes do I need to make to my practice. Okay. So that's the structure that we've given.
Yeah.
So once we've done a pilot and we have given the results, if they come back and write a second check, that's where commercial validation happens, that they're willing to pay more money.
And what do they pay for the next product? What's the next thing?
So they then come back and say, what more can we do? So we create a comprehensive year-long program, which has many things to do. So from a $30,000 pilot, we can end up with a $400,000 annual.
Okay. So then they've got an annual program, which gives doctors a whole bunch of training material.
Correct.
They'll give you some content you'll put into your learning modules, have some chatbot, have some videos, those kind of things.
That's right. So we structure it up into learning modules. And those learning modules get CPD points. So to the doctor, they are still engaged with learning. But that there is an AI sitting behind it is transparent to them. They're doing it as a part of thing. So that in a nutshell is commercial validation for us. So we've done repeats.
And so you've got the vast majority of doctors on your platform, let's say 80%. What percentage of the pharma companies do you have on your platform now?
So the top 20% of pharma companies who kind of totally, their revenue totals up to 80% of PBS.
So they're the guys who can spend the money on education? Yep. So you got the top 20% of pharma. Okay, that kind of makes sense.
So we chase pharma companies that have new emerging products because the need to educate them is higher. Anything new that comes out, the sooner the doctor learns, the better the treatment is. So that's the market segment we try and chase.
Yeah. And so what are your current plans for growth?
So having lived this business for so long, this market segment for so long, Australia as a market is not huge. I mean, we are a vast country with very little people.
Okay, how big would the total addressable market in Australia be for this product?
Total addressable market for this whole product could be around $20 million to $25 million, not more than that. And they're fragmented players.
Yeah.
So the best of the players, and I'm not including the publishing houses. If you include the publishing houses, it's another $20 million.
Okay. So somewhere between $20 to $40 million would be like your total addressable market, your TAM in Australia.
The best of the players will not do more than $3 million in education.
Okay, but there's only like $3 million worth of actual. Okay. So it's actually not very big.
No.
Yeah. So what's your... Okay, so I get now, if your actual TAM for your product is only 3 mil, it's not big enough to be meaningful here in Australia. So you kind of have two options, right? Option one is you go overseas. That's what everyone always thinks. They see the bright lights of America or Europe or those kind of things. You can that's option A, or option B is educate more people on things. I know, educate accountants, educate other people that have CPD requirements. Why did you decide, or why are you deciding to go global, not just educate more people in Australia?
All right. So in education, you need to be a domain expert to educate. So I could possibly provide my tools, to someone who's a domain expert and they can use it. It's a question of switching the data set to accounting laws, switching the data set to migration laws, so on and so forth. I don't know what that market looks like and who pays for it.
I guess you don't have 20 years of experience in selling to that market, right? So that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
With your previous product, did you get many overseas clients?
We never focused overseas. So we were pretty happy doing what we were doing in Australia.
It was kind of working here in Australia.
Yeah, and plus it was bespoke content, so you'd create content for Australian viewers.
So why focus on overseas now? I mean, a couple $1 million, that's a fantastic business if you have a low cost base.
So if you grow, let's just take the Asia Pacific market. If you take this out to Asia Pacific and you just look at, forget China, you wrote Japan, Korea, India, I'm thinking maybe Philippines, but Philippines is not a lot of money. But if you do Japan, Korea, India, your revenue could be 4 times of Australia.
Sure. So it could be a $12 million company instead of like a $3 million company.
Yeah.
But it sounds like your core asset base is your 55,000 doctors that are on your platform. If you went overseas, how would you build that? Because that took you 20 years, right, to build?
Yeah.
How do you build that? Let's just say, I don't know, let's just pick up, Japan, for example. So great, we've got med-ed.ai in Japan. How are you going to get that asset base?
You can't get your asset base overnight. So that the trick would probably be to partner with somebody who doesn't have the kind of offering we have. And that adds to the revenue chain.
So what would be an example of that? Like
so existing continuing medical education platform that has good membership, but they're still doing just videos.
Okay, so you'll be the AI add-in for them.
And add it to them, and just by adding an AI with no cost added, they suddenly can see 3 times more revenue.
Yeah.
And that 3 times revenue to them is also 3 times revenue to us.
Okay, got it. So your current plan now to just find partners in each of these various regions around the world?
So the ideal scenario would be to pick up somebody who's already globally there, but is 5 or 8 years behind us.
Is there global players in this space?
There are.
Okay.
There are. So the best possible bet would be somebody who's well-funded and globally available. But then their economics of whether they will buy us or partner with us, that will never fit, because for some reason they think $5 million is the lowest benchmark. $5 million is 7.5 million Australian dollars. That'll mean three companies here. So that's a part that, we are basically, it's not the value of the business, but the value of the IP that we have is where.
But wouldn't you, I would have just assumed the very large guys would just think we'll build this ourselves.
Yes.
Whether they'll succeed or not, I don't know. But that's often the first thing they think.
To reach here, it took us 3 years. It'll take them another 3 years.
But I've often found the larger companies don't want to partner for small modules. They have the hubris to think they can build it themselves, and often they don't. Right? They're busy doing their day jobs. Is that the same in your kind of space?
Yes and no. There's always somebody in some corner innovating, and it'll get stuck onto the website, and it'll suddenly be surprised one day. No, because the inertia to change is always there in large companies. But if you find someone who's got a good membership base, but is growing fast, and they have the pains of growth, it would be a good fit. At least if they have a good spread between US and Europe.
So is it quite a trivial problem to solve? You just got to find these 10 companies that exist around the world, and you got to find which ones are going to want to work with you?
It's not a trivial problem, because even if you found them, all of these work on relationships. It's a very incestuous industry. So till you don't find the right guy with the right thing.
But I'll say it's trivial that the solution sounds trivial. The implementation will be complex.
Yes.
You got to go find them, spend time with them.
Yeah.
But is the solution quite trivial that we just got to find these 10 companies?
No, it isn't. Because what happens is, so we did explore with one company in the US, and eventually I came to the conclusion that even if we signed the dotted line with them, I will have to place 2 pre-sales guys in there at my expense, even before I can see a single dollar, because these guys just don't have the capacity to sell what we have got. So they'll not be able to articulate it. If they can't articulate it, then,
You won't generate revenue.
It won't sell. They'll sell what they can explain easily. Yeah. So it's a chicken and egg. Now,
But
now
in that scenario, like, what stopped you from putting one or two pre-sales people into?
it's expense. We are not yet.
It'll be add to your cost base. Yeah. Okay.
It's an add to the cost base, and then it's a 12 to 18 month wait before
you get a return.
Yeah.
But won't that always be the case? Because this is something different that companies are selling. I mean, if there's standard video content, you got a chatbot. Well, they don't have a chatbot, so they don't have expertise in selling this. They're going to need support
being
from you.
able to articulate that, the fact that so it's very easy to say, I've got this great doctor who's going to speak to camera and he's going to say the following messages and the doctors will learn this ABCD, because that's the only thing that it says. It's very hard to say that the doctor will actually explore things beyond what the program was. And you might get pearls of wisdom or you might not.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then obviously there are fears around, how does this technology behave? Is it going to keep on continuously telling everything about my competitor does or versus me? So the usual stuff.
But isn't every company that would want to partner with you not have the expertise in selling this?
That is true.
So then every company is going to probably rely on you to help with pre-sales, right? Either with a person there or you do pre-sales education software or something. But I think they're always going to rely on you, aren't they? So isn't that always going to exist?
That's always going to be the case. So the challenge now I have is, where do I find the money? How do I find the money to put in 2 pre-sales guys in the US and 1 in Europe? And that is close to $1 million of cost a year. Yeah. And if you put yourself in that shoes for 24 months, that's $2 million that you've got to be ready before the 20 million comes in.
I mean, the other part of it is how do you just make sure you don't spend 10 years chasing this global expansion, spend all your profits? You know, scenario one is you just do Australia, great lifestyle business, you generate a couple $1 million a year profits. Over 10 years, you've got $20, $30 million. I mean, government will take it all away in tax anyway. But at least you've generated a company with real profit. Or do you actually double down and try to grow this and kind of forego the next decade of profits? Because there's going to be a US person this year, there'll be a Europe person the year after, there'll be an Asia person the year after.
But Asia is not a problem because you can service it from Australia.
Okay.
Easily. But Europe and US, and the US also not just one, you'll need 2, one in West and one in East.
So the cost will really start adding up.
Yes. So unless you can see you're staring down a barrel that says, we've got a contract in place that gives us $3 million a year. Or you got saying that, look, let's bet on this. I'm going to put in some money. And there's $3 million of money here. And we'll see at the end of it, the value of it. It'll be hard for me just by myself to do that.
Because, I mean, it also, you got to then think about, is it actually worth doing?
So I'll tell you where it becomes worth doing. Yeah. Eventually I'll have to retire. So this can't keep on chugging on forever.
How many more years do you reckon you have?
I'm going to turn 60 next year.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to enjoy some benefits of my life.
So like how many years? Is it 5 years? Is it 10? Is it 20?
5 to 7 years. So in 5 to 7 years, if I can hand this over to someone and exit out, and that pays for my retirement, it's a good place to be.
Because you've got 2 ways to do that, right? One way is you don't take any profits out of the business today. You double down on growth, and you grow in all these different regions and get all these pre-sales people. And there's a hope, some percentage chance, I don't know, 50% chance that in 7 years you'll have, business with $10 or $20 million worth of revenue. Or the very safe, low risk option is you do none of that. You just build an Australian business, you have a great lifestyle business, you get it managed professionally by somebody else, and you try to pull dividends out of it during retirement.
So I haven't seen the second option work in our kind of business.
Yeah, well, why is that? What does that not work in your world?
So the reason I think it doesn't work is, if somebody's running a $3 million a year business, they're running it pretty much themselves.
You can't have a lot of staff, aren't you? Yeah.
So you run it yourself. And then if you say that I want to put in some professional to run it on my behalf, then that 3 million has to look 6 million.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yep. Okay, fair enough. So really the only way to fund enough money to make this worthwhile is you kind of have to grow.
Have to grow.
Yeah.
The other option is that pick up some right players and just license what you have and make it as licensed revenue.
Yep.
That's another possibility.
So you license it off to the same kind of people and they pay you like, $500,000 a year, whatever the figure is.
Yep.
And you integrate your tech into their tech and they sell it off to their clients and make a profit out of that. Yeah. Yep. What's your risk appetite like in terms of taking more investment on to fund this kind of sales growth?
So at this point of time in my head, I'm thinking another 12%. So we've got 7% of, friends and family already in there. I could take another 10% now that the value of the business is higher from where we started. I could take another 10%, give out equity and use that money to grow.
Mm. And how come you haven't done that? Well, what stopped you from doing that to date?
I'm trying. It haven't worked out.
Yeah. As in you haven't been able to raise the money or haven't been able to figure out how to effectively spend it?
No, I haven't been able to raise the money.
Okay. Fair enough.
There's a plan in place of how to effectively spend it. That the plan is I'll put a pre-sales guy in there and we will co-sell as opposed to being partners, where the platform gets money for its reach.
Yeah.
The US partner or the European partner.
Because it's rare for a company in Australia to succeed the first or second or fifth time around overseas. It often takes a lot of iterations, right?
Yeah.
The first time you recruit a pre-sales guy, it'll just be wrong. They won't be able to sell or they won't get you right. Then you got to try again. Then you got to travel back and forth a lot to kind of educate them. Have you thought about skipping that and maybe make you the pre-sales guy in some of these regions?
So that's what is happening right now, is that work with them so that I'm the pre-sales guy and get the first deals on the table. Because once you get the first deals on the table and the cycle is on, then it's easy to tell the next guy.
Because then
this is what you do.
Plus then when you've got a couple of deals on the table, you've kind of rejigged the power dynamics between you and the other company as well. So you can maybe ask them to help co-fund it, or then at least you've got some revenue so you can actually fund this person yourself. Yeah. Sure. Is that a reasonable enough approach?
Yes. So that's what I'm trying right now.
How effective is that being?
No, I think what I did was I've just started doing that. I haven't yet got any runs on board. We would like to, so the commercial validation that I've talked about, the second check being written has been written. Once it goes through that, the sponsor of that, he's actually won the President's Award. So he's a good voice inside the company. And he's kind of spread the word that this is what we're doing with this Australian company. They've said we need an American or a British company to do this with us. So there is a door that's slightly open. It's a question of getting that American and the British company to come along.
Okay. Got it. Makes sense. Okay. When you focus your mind space on the US, growing there and Europe or whatnot as well, how much of your time is still needed in the Australian business?
So the sales cycle is you have coffees all around the year to stay in touch, top of mind. But then by around August is where sponsors start looking for ideas.
That's when their budget's going to get allocated.
That's where they're doing the planning. So if you get into the planning cycle, then the budgets get allocated by November, December, and the POs start coming in January.
Okay. Yeah. But the Australian business still kind of takes your time. So you can't, go overseas for 6 months if you had to America.
No, I need to keep on coming back.
Okay, so you still got work to do here.
So that's the other problem. We are far away from everywhere.
Yeah,
everything is a 20-hour flight.
Yeah, everything's hard. Yeah. So what's the current plan? Like, what are you going to do right now? Are you going to still try to raise money to do this? Are you going to try to do this yourself?
So I have got kind of exhausted trying to raise money. Yeah. And everywhere I hear, even in the US, they said that money on the lower side of the spectrum is kind of
it's just hard.
It's just hard. Nobody's betting on it. There was one gentleman who was advising me and he said, well, look, $100,000 I'll tip in. But beyond that, I said, no, we're talking about $4 or $5 million. He says, yeah, that's the spectrum which is hard in. Even though you've got revenue to show, that this is not an idea anymore. But that money suddenly has kind of gone dry.
Yeah.
There's this uncertainty about geopolitics.
Well, whenever there's uncertainty, people just don't invest in software. And the problem's going to be is you're a small business, not a lot of revenue, so it's still very high risk, right? It's just very high risk for an investor. It might be a great return, but it's very high risk. And probably in your world as well, like it's not there's the total addressable market's not huge, right? This won't be $1 billion company.
The global market is actually $32 billion.
Into medical, okay. And how much of that global market right now gets spent on products like yours?
So the closest competitor to us, who kind of pivot, the main pivot is at the bedside, and secondary pivot is education. There were, I think last quarter they did $25 million in the US.
But in terms of people that do medical education chatbots, like how big is that market?
There is nobody who does medical education with chatbots.
Okay, so it's all very new. What about general medical education? How big is that market?
That is the $32 billion.
That's $32 billion. Okay, fair enough. Okay, so there is kind of growth there potentially. Okay. So I guess the decision you got to make is if it's kind of getting hard to raise money and you don't have enough profits to fund this yourself to get, $1 million to have 2 reps, it sounds like you actually don't really have a choice. You've either got to redo the commercial model with these partners so you don't need to put in cash, or you got to do the work yourself.
Oh.
Is option A possible? Can you redo the commercials with these guys? Is it like a master-slave relationship because you're a much smaller player, or can you actually get them to help fund some of this stuff?
So the ones who would come to party, in my opinion, who would come to party with us are the ones who probably don't have the money to spend, but they're hungry to grow. So I'm leveraging on the hunger for growth. Because for them, every time they create a new program, it is as expensive as the last one. So the bottom line doesn't shift. Whereas with us, the bottom line shifts dramatically.
If I was to re-say that, so you're selling to people that actually don't have a lot of money to spend.
Yes.
That's hard.
I'm not selling to people. I'm partnering with people.
Oh, yeah, you're partnering with people.
Yeah.
They don't have a lot of cash to spend.
Correct. But they're hungry because they're in the growth path. The ones who have the cash in hand, inertia has taken them on. So they're chugging along with that.
Because they're profitable, they don't need to change. It's kind of working as is. Okay.
Yeah. Because the moment you add in something new into your mix, you have to have your sales guys ready for it. And that's the hardest yard.
And do you think you have the ability to convince those cash-rich partners?
The only way to convince the cash-rich partners is to actually bring a deal to their table by myself.
Is that possible in this kind of scenario, or is that very difficult to do?
No, it is not difficult to do. It's only that whether they will participate in the sales process when I get the deal.
Yeah.
It's the paperwork that comes with the deal.
Okay, fair enough. But it sounds like it's quite a difficult one to solve. Because what we're saying is we've got partners that don't have a lot of money to spend. You don't have a lot of money to spend yourself. You've only got so much profit. You also got to build your product here. You still got to invest in the Australian market. Yet you actually still want to grow, and you're not able to get investment to fund that growth.
Right.
So it might just be a go slow model.
I think it'll eventually be a go slow model.
Yeah. Go slow model is probably just your time.
Yeah.
And then when you get some runs on the board, hopefully that generates some revenue, and that can kind of help fund it.
Yeah. Then everybody else will come to party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a sad story, but perhaps it's the only way that this model will work right now for you.
Yes. That's the only way, unless somebody comes along with deep pockets and they say, right, we'll pick you, and we are a part of the buying lot.
Yeah.
That's a different story.
But the problem is, even now, like, you probably don't have enough of revenue to have a meaningful exit right now.
No.
You need another 3, 4, 5 years of growth to get big enough so that they can actually exit and be meaningful.
So the problem with us being acquired by overseas business is that they don't understand that $3 million is actually good money in Australia because the size is small.
Yeah.
They're thinking, well, 3 million, I could do 2 million in Singapore, for instance.
Yeah. And they'll probably spend $500,000 on all the due diligence and the costs and the transaction costs. So it's actually, they're better off buying a $30 million company or a $100 million company.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. So where does that leave us? So the question we originally had was, how do I go from a dev company to a growth company? What's the current thinking based on what we've spoken about?
Based on what we have spoken about, it'll be a go slow, but it can't be really, really slow. So we will have to leverage our Australian connections to get American deals. And then once we get an American deal, everybody else will. It just is about the first deal.
Yeah. And that's your expertise, right? You're a salesperson in learning and development, right?
Yeah.
So if anyone can get this deal, it's probably you. Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Well, one thing I always kind of finish off with all the podcasts is a question I ask everybody. What's something you've always known to be true that later on you found out actually wasn't true?
So I always thought price is a function of value perceived.
Yeah. And it's not?
And for many years, I used to kind of believe in it. But then the definition of perception in my head was wrong.
Yeah. Explain that.
So I always used to think if I can propose a value of what the education program can do, then the price doesn't really matter. If they have the budget, they'll buy. But often, then I got in, and this happened during COVID, where everything suddenly became cheap. If it is digital, it's almost free. And I had this call at 9:00 at night with a client. He said, send me a proposal tomorrow. I sent him a proposal. He said, he didn't reply back. And then eventually I called him up and I said, what is it? He says, look, I put something for $5,000. If you sell yours to me for $5,000, I'll buy. Mine was $14,000. I said, good luck with that. And actually, I'd like to meet the guy who does the $5,000 because I might use him. That's still $9,000 of profit for me if he does it. But the fact is, he went with the $5,000. Whether he compared apples and oranges is a different story, but that's the way the deal went. Yeah. So in his head, perception of value was that it's you're doing X. How X gets delivered is not my problem.
Sure. You saw it as almost like a commodity, right? They're all the same.
It is commodity.
Yeah.
Whether it reaches 300 doctors or 5,000 doctors, I really don't care. Because to him, he was justifying cost.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Awesome. Great. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Great. Thank you very much. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do want to be a guest, make sure you hit me up and do follow me on socials and make sure you check out future episodes. Thanks, guys.